Hello and welcome to another episode of We Could Do It Better. I am Jonah Maple and my co-host Grant Coven is coming around in just a minute.
I'm adjusting audio levels.
Today is January 23rd. It is 12:31. It is warmer than it's been. It's low 20s today, I think 22. And we've got a packed show for you guys today. But that being said, just because, a lot of stuff is going on in the country, I do think I have we're not going to get into it today because this is a fun show.
Right.
But there is we try to keep it light. We try not to talk about politics or alienate anyone who's listening. But, I just want to say something. To anyone out there who's listening, remember that you are loved, you are valid. No matter what the government says about you, no matter what anyone or the government says about you, you belong where you want to belong. And since this is a show largely about silly things and superheroes, I'm also going to share something Batman said to Wonder Woman in a Grant Morrison book. No one tries too hard to make the world better, Diana. You can never shout too loudly in the name of freedom. That's what I hear anyway.
Heck yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
All right.
That being said, we don't have fun news at the beginning.
No, we don't.
Because right after we finished recording our show last week, director David Lynch died. And I think you have a little bit more about that because you've seen.
Well, actually, this is really embarrassing, but I've looked over his entire history. I don't think I've seen a David Lynch film.
Oh. I'm not a film person either. I don't know if I have.
I know he's done a lot of great things. He's inspired filmmakers all over. I saw James Gunn personally shouted him out, Pedro Pascal. So he's clearly an influential person. And when the news came across, my feed, I was like, oh wow, he's huge. He's huge in the realm of filmmaking. So I feel like I need to watch like Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet. Because I haven't watched any of his yet, and I feel like now is like probably the best time to get on top of that.
Yeah. All right. Moving into movie news. Greta, we've kind of known for a little bit. I think that Greta Gerwig is making Narnia movies. She signed on to do 2 Narnia movies for Netflix. And we now know that the first one that she's making is going to have a 2-week IMAX theatrical run in December of 2026.
Wow.
So Greta Gerwig, if you don't know, the director, she did a lot of things, Bling Ring, the most recent Little Women, and Barbie. That's probably what a lot of people know her from. And I'm really excited because I really liked those movies, especially Little Women and Barbie. And I like Narnia. I've read it a few times. I actually reread it earlier this year. And I'm excited to see what she brings to it because she definitely has a unique voice. Mm-hmm. And I also think that because, some of the characters, especially the woman characters, especially Susan, aren't really portrayed, like aren't really given much to do or much of a character. So I'm interested to see what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it'll be an IMAX release, which I think is interesting. That's a new thing for because sometimes Netflix has like short 2-week theatrical releases, but this is the first time that they're doing one specifically for IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then you have some rumors about Star Wars and
yeah. Well, you actually kind of beat me to the punch while we were.
Well, I don't know very much.
Right. No, I know a little bit behind all of this, but Ryan Gosling is in the talks for Sean Levy's Star Wars movie. It is still completely unknown what this movie is going to be about, based off of the success of Deadpool and Wolverine and how he's done Stranger Things. I'm sure it's going to be a hit, and I mean, I don't really care what the movie is going to be about. When you've got Ryan Gosling and Sean Levy in the same movie, it's probably going to be really good. Jonah put it in there, and Jonah wanted me to double check the validity behind that, and I can confirm that they're at least in final negotiation talks. So okay. I think it's looking very likely that we'll see Ryan Gosling in the Star Wars universe, because like Star Wars is so weird right now. Like looks like they're pumping out more Disney Plus stuff than anything theatrical. I mean, we've got the Mandalorian movie. I think that's coming out in 2026. But yeah, so I'm excited. I hope Star Wars makes a comeback. I mean, really the last good stuff I've seen from Star Wars has been The Mandalorian and Andor.
Yeah, I liked Ahsoka. I also read some of the comic books and read some of the novels, and I like some of those, but some of the other ones I don't.
Yeah.
Not all of it is for me, but yeah, hopefully they kind of make movies again. Like
Yeah.
I like Disney Plus shows, but like I hope like Star Wars works really well with movies.
Right. Well, I think what happened was Lucasfilms clearly saw how most of fans reacted to the sequels.
Yeah.
I felt like Force Awakens was pretty good. Like, I think especially for those, like, you know, when I went to go see it in the theater with my parents, you know, it was exciting. Like, this was the first time, you know, in a long time where you got Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher all back on that screen. So I hope I can jump on the Star Wars train again. It's just right now I feel like it's just been kind of like back of my head. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still a fan, but they just haven't done enough of anything for me to still be like actively following anything that they do. But also you put in about how Benedict Wong is rumored to return as Wong in the Strange Academy alongside Benedict Cumberbatch. Now, I did not know that Benedict Cumberbatch was also going to be in Strange Academy.
I didn't know that this was going to be a thing at all.
Okay, well, I heard like rumors about it, and I just didn't know if it was too early for us to plug something in about this. But since Benedict Wong is now apparently attached to this project, I think it's fair enough to announce this. But if we had to like sum it up, Strange Academy is pretty much just like the X-Men for wizards and stuff.
The book is Marvel trying to catch in on another Hogwarts thing,
right?
Except it was like way late for that train.
Right. So this isn't a project that I'm like, yes, I haven't even picked up a Strange Academy. I know enough about it, and you know, if they do this into a Disney Plus show, I figured this is what they're gonna do. Like, this doesn't seem like it's gonna be like a theatrical release by any means. But you know, if it's captivating enough, if it has Benedict Cumberbatch in it, and if it has Benedict Wong, like it'll be good enough for me, really. I'll be interested to see what kind of wizards that we put in. It'd be really interesting if we could get like Billy Maximoff in it or something like that. But we'll just have to see. Up next, Robert Eggers, who directed Nosferatu, announced another project earlier this week, Werewolf. That is spelled Werwulf, which is going to be a 13th century werewolf movie. And hopefully it's a good werewolf movie, because I don't know if I brought this up a lot. I love the idea of werewolf movies. I don't think we've had enough good werewolf movies, though, because I look at The Wolfman that just released earlier this month. It's sitting rotten on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences alike. A lot of people are just like, not that great. And it's sad because my dad and I, we love werewolves. Like, we've gone to werewolf events, and you know, we've scoured the internet trying to find good werewolf movies, and they are so hard to come by. Like, there are always going to be good Dracula movies. I feel like for the most part there've been pretty good Frankenstein movies, but for whatever reason, there has not been a really solid werewolf movie since maybe The Wolfman. But even upon rewatching that in the last October, it was like really like outdated.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up.
It does not hold up very well at all. So hopefully, with the care that went into something like Nosferatu, a werewolf movie done by Robert Eggers, hopefully should be a hit. Hopefully it'll be good, and especially if we're dealing like 13th century, and I'm thinking like even about the old school game Werewolf, where it almost turns into like an accusatory type thing, where it's just
that's cool.
Murder mystery type thing, where someone's getting, mauled every night. Like, that would be cool.
I definitely agree that there's a lot of stuff that you can do there.
Yeah. Like, when you have like the townspeople and a nightly mauling of a person, and a person who's completely, like, I mean, obviously, I don't think Robert Eggers has even, started really or pre-production for this movie, but I'm really optimistic on what this might mean for the subgenre of werewolf movies.
All right, we also have a new look at Captain America for Captain America Brave New World. Like a little 30-second TV spot. We get to see a couple of new things. I feel like we're close to this movie that I'm not going to say what we saw because that might be a spoiler because it wasn't in the earlier trailers. We also have a new IMAX poster we also have a new poster, the IMAX poster that I just put there because I think it looked really bad.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest problem for Captain America Brave New World is like, first of all, the font is like Arial. Like, the font is boring. Like, you've got Captain America, which has been the consistent Captain America font for, since First Avenger. It looks very similar, at least. It might not be exactly the same, but it looks like the Captain America font. But the Brave New World just looks lazy.
Well, okay, so I actually reread Brave New World recently for a class. No, I thought maybe they were doing like a thing. I mean, I get it where but like yeah, it's boring and just like the poster's like super like it's not even that like the Hulk looks weird. It's just it looks gray and like super fake.
It's the same thing with the trailers. Like I've seen some background for the trailers. I've brought this up in previous episodes. There are very clear green screens that are being used. And I know that's an essential part of making Marvel movies is you're going to use this green screen. But I feel like there has not been as much care put into these trailers.
It doesn't need to be so gray.
Right. And especially, like, the first trailer blew me away. I'm like, yes, this is a new subgenre of Marvel movies that I'm going to absolutely enjoy. Political thrillers. Absolutely. I love this idea. And they kept releasing more trailers. I'm like, this is kind of looking almost like to the quality of Ant-Man Quantumania. And I hate saying that. Although I did see that it is projected to make $90 million in its opening weekend, which would be amazing.
90 million?
90 million.
Okay.
Which isn't bad. I'm certainly rooting for the success of this because of course it's Marvel. They had that dip for the longest time where everyone was kind of like, crapping on them, and they need a win. They really very badly need a win. I was telling you just before the show started, I'm still not a fan of his mostly blue suit. When his white suit was introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there were tears that came out of my eyes because I was like, it looks like he hopped straight out of a comic book. And I know Sam Wilson is trying to take on that Captain America mantle, but I also believe that he needs to make himself stand out more from Steve Rogers than to have a suit that looks like it could just be the next version of Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah. We also saw, there's something I saw too, Benedict Cumberbatch says he will show up in Secret Wars but not Avengers Doomsday. I don't know what that means. I guess it makes sense. Whatever.
Maybe he's training wizards at Strange Academy.
Yeah, New Orleans or whatever.
Yeah. Which that'll be interesting because what I'm assuming for Doomsday is like it's whatever happens in Doomsday is going to be an isolated event. Like you're going to have a team of heroes that tries to take down Doctor Doom, fails, and then it becomes the world's problem, and that's when Doctor Strange might step in. Pure speculation, though. I've got two pieces of information that are such a shot in the dark, but I don't want to not mention this down the road. But according to Cinema Blend, due to the smashing success of Deadpool and Wolverine, Marvel Studios is now planning a trilogy for our favorite regenerative mutants.
Your favorite?
What other regenerative mutants hold priority over Deadpool and Wolverine?
I like Laura better than Deadpool.
Okay. Well, yeah, my favorite. I think I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of other people. It's like Deadpool and Wolverine.
I'm just
right. But I think this is a good move. I think that in order to not overshadow any of the new X-Men that get introduced down the line, Reynolds and Jackman should have their own movies. I'm okay with a cameo if they want to show up. And I love the mentor role that Logan specifically took in throughout X-Men 97, sort of, or I guess it was just animated.
Well, for the majority of pure X-Men stuff that's not made by Fox, or from the 2000s, Wolverine did take Wolverine is very much so a supporting character,
right,
more than a.
And I think
lead.
that's why it would work so perfectly, is if he wants to be a supporting character, a very small supporting character in the X-Men movies, I'm fine. I would be fine if Deadpool didn't even show up in any of the X-Men movies. I have a feeling Disney will probably do it just because they're like, this will bring people to the theater. But I think in order to not overshadow any new mutants that we might see, it's probably best to leave them out of it. But yeah, the second thing that I found today is, according to Winter is Coming, which is a news outlet that I kind of follow, there's an account called @UpsideDownScoop, and they went digging around and found the code for the Stranger Things page on Netflix's website. And according to what they found, they leaked that the new episode of Stranger Things might drop on November 27th, 2025, which is really late. I know filming just wrapped towards the end of 2024, but they are leaving a lot of time for post-production, which is good. It's good to have a lot of time for post-production because it means that they're putting a lot of care into it. But it's just like, oh my gosh, like the last time we got a Stranger Things season was in 2022. That was nearly 4 years ago.
That was like when
we graduated high school.
Yeah.
And now I am going to be in my last year of college when Stranger Things.
Well, it started
drops.
out when we were in elementary school.
Right. But I didn't hop on Stranger Things until season 3 because I was too scared of the Demogorgon.
I hopped on season 2, which was 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah. And I regret. I wish I would have gotten on the Stranger Things train earlier, but whatever. So, again, take it with a grain of salt, both of those. It does make sense because November is the month that Will Byers went missing back in season 1. So I feel like they've had a very consistent November.
Yeah. Well, the first 2 seasons, I think, were released at Halloween.
Yeah.
Or at least the second season definitely was.
Right. But yeah, so that's it. And we're going to... Don't Change the Channel is going to be quick.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of stuff going on.
I mean,
here.
I haven't seen very much. I guess Stranger Things probably would have fit back into this. But Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is coming up next week, and we have a release schedule. They're kind of doing a really weird thing. They're not just doing like 1 episode a week or like 2 episodes at first and then the rest of them. They're doing first 2 episodes on the 29th, and then episodes 3 to 5 on February 5th, and episodes 6 to 8, like 3 episodes at a time for the next 2 weeks, and then episodes 9 and 10 on February 19th.
That is really weird. That is a strange. I don't think they've ever done that before.
Yeah, well, for Agatha All Along, they did the first 2. The first week they did the first 2 episodes, and the last week they did the last 2 episodes.
Right, and that makes sense. But this is weird.
This is different. They're constraining 10 episodes into 4 weeks, and I'm not sure why. Just to make people.
I mean, I'm just happy. Like, I'll be able to binge, some episodes whenever it drops. Like, I'll be able to. Like, I won't have to. I'm sure I'll be on the edge of my seat for after I've done binging. But it's just nice to be able to like watch maybe about 40 minutes to an hour of Spider-Man content whenever it drops.
Yeah, and that'll be that'll be Wednesday next week.
Okay.
So, if we'll probably have some stuff,
spoiler free.
A spoiler free review of the first 2 episodes next week.
But yeah, no, we're kind of blowing through these segments, but Game Over and Comic Corner are probably going to take longer. But we'll just have to see because we have like 3 pages in our doc right now. In our shared doc, and we're already near the end of our second page.
So you have some stuff with for Game Over for Marvel Rivals.
I do, and I've pretty much abandoned Fortnite at this point completely. I did recently just play Fortnite with my brother a couple days ago, and Godzilla is in Fortnite. And I actually, when we were playing the games, we actually never even had Godzilla, rampage across the map. But it is weird. It is a weird season of Fortnite. I'm not going to even, that's the most I'm going to say about Fortnite right now. But it's just things are getting weird. I think a lot of people are falling off, especially with the rise of Marvel Rivals. But yeah, I'll get right into my Marvel Rivals stuff. So Rivals is now teaming up with Regal to promote Captain America Brave New World. If you buy tickets by February 17th, players can redeem a free Red Hulk skin, a player banner, and a spray, which is kind of cool. Like, you'll be able to, add Red Hulk, if you want to your Hulk skin and, play around as that. I'm also usually someone who goes to Regal. I'm not so much of an AMC person. I feel like AMC gets, really expensive. I feel like Regal usually is a little bit more cheaper, so I'm happy to see that Rivals is teaming up with Regal. Did you have something else to say?
Oh no, I work. I'm not a big fan of the company. I work there,
right?
But I don't know if it's cheaper, but it's probably better that they not partnering with the biggest company, like the biggest theater company.
Yeah,
it's still not good to have this is just a Canadian thing to not have relationships like that, but whatever.
Yeah. We also got some exciting new Rivals leaks, and this sort of comes with what we were talking about last week. We've got more mutants, which is exciting. So Gambit has been found in the game files, and he's going to be a duelist. Rogue has been found in the game files, and she's going to be a strategist.
Okay, I have to stop you. That's so weird. Because she's
is
like a flying brick.
It is weird, and I want it to be known that these are leaks. Okay. Rivals can always change things last minute. People can get moved around in their classes, but as of right now, and I'll talk about this in a second, but if she is a strategist, she's not going to be her primary abilities aren't going to be healing. Maybe her secondary ability is going to be healing, but we'll see in a minute on why I think that she'll be the most duelisty strategist of all. Jubilee is currently unknown, but her powers are also speculating that she's going to be a duelist as well. Beast is looking like a strategist, even though he's unknown. This is currently my speculation. I'll go over all the power sets and abilities and why I believe that they'll be in the classes that they are. Nightcrawler is going to be a duelist, and then the Hood, who's actually making his MCU debut in Ironheart, he's going to be a Vanguard. So I'll start with Gambit. Gambit's powers are going to be Kinetic Energy Card, which I assume is just him throwing cards, Energy Accumulation, Node Carry Array Projection, and Node Carry Array Recycling. I have no idea what those last three abilities are. I assume that his bow staff is going to be at least one of the secondary weapons, whether it's just a melee attack. I'm hoping that kind of we get a little bit of what Channing Tatum's Gambit kind of did in Deadpool and Wolverine, where you can throw a card down and then you can wait for someone to walk in front and you can trigger the card to explode at any moment. I felt like that was something that Channing Tatum... that's really kind of what happens in, Gambit's power set in total. He can choose to detonate the cards whenever he wants to. But that would be really cool if you can tag someone and then make it explode on them.
I feel like Gambit feels like a no-brainer. He has one of the most visually appealing power sets. Whether it's the comic especially when Jim Lee would draw him.
Yeah.
Or in X-Men '97 they did some really great stuff there. Imagining his power in different ways and having different power signatures. I think that's really cool. Same thing with Jubilee.
Jubilee's powers make a lot of sense, and we'll get to that in a minute as well. Next up, we've got Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's powers are Foil Style, EP Style, and Phase Shift. Again, I have no idea what this is going to be. I assume Phase Shift probably is his teleportation ability and his BAMF.
Yes, it is a BAMF.
I hope that when you disappear into like a purple cloud, Bamf literally appears on
Yes.
screen. That would be so cool. So I assume there's going to be some sword fighting. He'll probably be more of a melee opponent, not very ranged at all. But again, we'll just have to see. This is all pure speculation, and we'll see. I've got a reason why all these X-Men are being announced. Next up, we've got Jubilee. Jubilee's powers are Firework, Atomic Bomb, and Atomic Bomb Excitation. I don't know what the difference between excitation is, but whatever. Rogue's powers are Ability Draw, Ability Acquisition 1, Ability Acquisition 2, and Ability Acquisition 3. So I have a feeling, if you know anything about Rogue and what her powers are, is she'll be able to draw different powers from people all over the map. It'll be kind of similar to Loki, where she can have, looks like maybe up to 3 other powers. I don't know if it's people who are on the same team as her, or if she can also draw powers from people on the enemy team, but it looks like she'll be able to have at least 3 different skills from other players in her skill set, which is actually a really fun idea. Loki kind of has a similar thing for his ultimate ability, where he can just completely embody the ultimate of whatever hero that he chooses. But yeah, we'll just so it says she's a strategist though, so there is nothing in here that makes me think that she'll be able to be a strategist. The only thing I can imagine is maybe she can drain the life force of her enemies, but then replenish the life force in her allies. That is the only strategist ability that I can see working for her favor.
Yeah.
But then Beast. So Beast looks like he's also going to be a strategist. He could very well be a Vanguard as well, because Beast's powers are Dexterity, Field Experiment, and Intelligence Analysis. And Intelligence Analysis just sounds like a strategist ability, like especially just like the word strategist. Like when you think of strategist, you think of intelligence and analysis.
Yeah.
And it just like I could see Beast mixing up potions and scientific experiments and like throwing them down and healing teammates.
Yeah, kind of working like an artificer.
Yeah, and I imagine he's gonna be like with dexterity as one of his abilities. He's definitely gonna be able to prowl all around the map. Like he can probably perform maybe double jumps or climb up walls, like Spider-Man or Rocket Raccoon or something like that. Which is fun. I've had a lot of hours on Rocket Raccoon, and the ability to climb up walls is actually very nice and extremely important when you've got a lot of people firing at you, because then they're not only just chasing you on the floor, but they're trying to hit you while you're moving on a wall, and it's really hard to get hit sometimes when you're playing as someone who can crawl up walls. But previously on our last episode, we also talked about how Jia Jing, Professor X, Locust, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Jean Grey, Deadpool, and Colossus are also all arriving in Marvel Rivals. Now that seems stacked. Like compared, like the Fantastic Four just got announced for this season, which means if all of these people are expected to show up sometime later down the road, that's going to be a lot of people to just dump into Marvel Rivals. I don't know if they'll do it gradually, because we only got Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic when the season started, and now we're going to be getting Human Torch and The Thing in a couple of weeks. But that's a lot of people.
I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see all of them. If like they're just like testing some of them, testing others,
Right. But what is interesting is the next Rival season is rumored to be X-Men themed, and I can already see the maps. You could have Genosha or the Expansion or Krakoa as maps.
Utopia as well, I think would work.
Yeah, Asteroid M.
That'd be cool.
There are a lot of abilities, and what I've liked is I don't think Rivals is planning on getting rid of any maps. So we had Midtown that was introduced this season, and they already took away Eternal Night Midtown as a game mode. I don't know if you knew about that. So they've already taken that away, but Midtown as like a regular map is still completely playable when you're in quick play. So if we can keep adding to this, giant map selection, it keeps things interesting. So I would love to see. I can't wait for this mutant season. It just seems it seems like a lot. It seems like they're dumping a lot. I hope, because like I want all these characters that got announced. I'm like, heck yeah, this is gonna be so much fun. There's gonna be a lot of people to play with, but it's just like, is this gonna disrupt gameplay and all the mechanics in the most insane way possible? But I don't know.
We also have more news on the Switch 2. So Nintendo Direct, which is like their showcase thing, is going to be on April 2nd. And that's going to showcase the new console and like all of the things it can do at their, like their little like talk thing that gets broadcast everywhere. And then the console should be available to order sometime after that this year once more games are finished. We already know that a new Mario Kart is going to happen. People are calling it Mario Kart 9. Who knows if it'll actually be called that?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, because the last ones were Mario Kart 7 and Mario Kart 8, but those are the only like numbered ones. So who knows what it'll be called? From like some of like the demos so far, there's like some images about that. Just want to shout out my friend Christopher. Really doesn't like how Donkey Kong looks, but I have no opinion on any of that.
Yeah.
You can look at it from that, and I saw some report that it should come out this year. Some report imagines that it'll come out sometime this summer or this fall, like some people speculate.
Adding on to that, I also saw that I sent this to my girlfriend, but there is a rumor with, of course, the rising popularity of Marvel Rivals that Nintendo is thinking about making Marvel Rivals available on the Switch 2.
That's cool.
Which sucks because my girlfriend would love to play Marvel Rivals, but she's got just a Nintendo Switch, and of course the Switch 2 got announced, and she's like, well, I'm not going to dump like $500 onto a new Nintendo Switch just to play Marvel Rivals. I'm like, that's totally fair. And she's like, she'll probably just play off of my PlayStation, if anything. Also up next, so with me getting a MetaQuest, I am going to occasionally review a game. So I just beat Stranger Things VR, which I got for Christmas. Shout out to Dad for letting me put Stranger Things VR on our Amex. So I got to play Stranger Things VR, and if you know nothing about it, it was a game that got released. I think it got released maybe a couple years back. But it puts you in the shoes of Vecna. So you start as essentially Henry Creel, and you get to go through the Creel house, and then you do some really dark things that happens in Stranger Things. I'm not gonna, spoil too much of the game, but like you get to go into the Rainbow Room, if you remember anything about that. And like as we were getting closer to the end of the game, it gets dark, it gets bloody, it gets really disgusting, and you do get to recreate a bunch of iconic moments because at this point it's kind of been known that Vecna is responsible for pretty much every single Upside Down related event that's happened in Stranger Things ever. So you get to be inside of the Mind Flayer, and you get to attack the log cabin just like in season 3, and you've got like you get to attach yourself to 11 and become a parasite and torment her and all the other kids around, and you get to take over Billy Hargrove, which is so much fun. What?
Oh, so like it's set in the continuity. It's like basically what Vecna was doing.
Yes,
or
yes,
whatever that character's.
And you do. It's exciting because at first when you're sent to the Upside Down, you've got demo dogs attacking you, demo bats, and it becomes, as you begin to master the Upside Down, you also begin to master the creatures as well, which was very cool. It does fill in a lot of gaps story-wise, so I'm actually rewatching Stranger Things 4 with my girlfriend right now, and so getting to watch Stranger Things and then play Stranger Things at the same time has actually been really cool to kind of see how all of that lines up. Next up, I'll probably be reviewing Batman Arkham Knight, or Arkham Shadow, not Arkham Knight. I am in the middle of trying to beat that. It is a long game. Stranger Things VR was... I think it took me like maybe 6 or 7 hours to beat.
Oh, that's very short.
Yeah.
Is that about average for like VR games?
I would imagine so. I feel like most of the time it's been about 6 or 7 hours. I love this game called I Expect You to Die. I beat that game probably in about 7 or 8 hours. But this Arkham Shadow game has maybe taken me 10 to 12 so far. The Ratcatcher is actually the main villain for Arkham
interesting.
Shadow. And it's almost turned into a mystery because you've got, this is like before a bunch of Arkham inmates become their criminal figures. So you've got Harleen Quinzel treating you, because as Batman you go undercover, you go into Blackgate, and so you get to talk to a bunch of criminals, and then there's this part where you're playing as Bruce Wayne, and Jonathan Crane is using experimental gas on you to treat patients.
So kind of like a
prequel.
Well, it sounds very much like Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, Serious House, and Serious is there like very like spooky psychedelia vibes?
Yeah. Because like it sends you down like twisted hallways, and it has you literally watch the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne right in front of you, and then one of the boss battles is you have to fight a giant bat shadow, which is kind of weird, but
Barbatos.
Yeah, Barbatos. Yeah. And you have to like swing at human-sized bat shadow figures. It's been really weird. But no, I'll review Arkham Shadow in its entirety when I beat the game. I had to close out of it the other time because it like froze up on me for some reason. But yeah, no, I'll do more VR segments as as I beat the game, and I'll talk more about VR. If you're interested about VR stuff sometime, you can come over and check it out. But we'll go on to Comic Corner, and I'm excited to talk about these comic books I got this week. We've actually got the same amount of comic books. For once. Yeah,
we also had we also have a weird amount of comic news happening this week. Yeah. So first off, a big bummer, really sad one. Jules Pfeiffer, who's one of the last golden age era of comics, with in between 36 and late 40s, early 50s, or actually no, I mean technically until the 60s, but it's a whole thing. He's one of those last greats. He won a Pulitzer. He worked with Will Eisner on The Spirit. If you know anything about the history of comic, that's one of the foundational things. He was considered one of the most read. He was considered the most read political cartoonist in the country. He, with the Village Voice, he made 666. He wrote a lot of screenplays. A lot of people might know his work from. He did the illustrations for the Phantom Tollbooth. Okay. And he made one of the first American graphic novels in 1978 with Tantrum. And he died at 95 this week.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, a lot of people are sad about this. Kind of a lot of the golden age comic creators, the greats, the giants of this industry, kind of have already passed. And since he was on the younger side of that kind of greatest generation, then he was one of the last ones. So that is very sad. But it's cool to to see people being like, oh my gosh, look at this this amazing figure. I'm just reading your parts for Comic Corner, and this next point has me really excited. I think this is gonna have you and I both pretty hyped. Via Tom Brevoort, one of the editors at Marvel. He's been an editor for decades at this point, and the conductor of X is what he calls himself. Chris Claremont is working on Wolverine and on a Wolverine and Kitty Pryde series. That was all we got initially, and then we did get previews. For issue 1, I think, and so basically it's going to be set in back when 1984. Okay. So I mean sliding time scale or whatever is really only 5 years ago. Yeah. But as the comics were in 1984, when Chris Claremont, the person who wrote X-Men from 1976 until 1991, and then came back for several years. The godfather of that. If you like the X-Men, you have to thank Chris Claremont for it.
Yeah.
He made it an amazing brand, and he wrote some amazing series. Anyway, he's going back. He's writing a Wolverine and Kitty Pryde series that took place in that time, following up his original Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. Which I'm excited for. I mean, I like that period of time between like number 140 and 250 is probably like my favorite era of X-Men ever.
Yeah.
And Chris Claremont, one of the greats. I think. I mean, he's in the 70s, but he still has some good stories left in him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. We also have so over on the DC side of things, they're kind of marketing this summer as the summer of Superman,
which makes sense.
They kind of want to push
DCU.
the whole. Yeah, they kind of want to push the whole brand at the same time as the Superman movie, which sure. And James Gunn has even been marketing a lot of this stuff himself. So with that, Dan Slott, who a lot of people know from his work on Spider-Man, he wrote Amazing Spider-Man for a really long time. I don't know, like 6-7 years. But he did like the Spider Island event, like 3 different Spider-Verse events. He did Superior Spider-Man, the Clone Conspiracy, and he also he's done all this stuff, but that's what I know him from.
Yeah.
He's coming. He's going over to DC, and he's going to write a new Superman series, Superman Unlimited, with I think Raphael Albuquerque. And that's going to be coming out this May. So another imminent Marvel writer is coming over to DC, looking to shake up Superman status quo, which is exactly what happened 7 years ago with Bendis, and people don't like it. And the series, it's fine. I might read it. It sounds kind of like an event, but it's all around Superman. I don't know what exactly it entails. The pitch sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess I have trust in Dan Slott. I've read way more good Dan Slott stories than bad ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be a good thing. Hopefully, it's not one of the things where like a new writer comes in and doesn't get edited and like just brings things back to how they remember it when it was a kid. But yeah, there's that to look up for. Also, there's a big change in Marvel Star Wars comics happening right now. They're wrapping up the Battle of Jakku this month, and with it the Galactic Civil War era.
Again, I'm not following Star Wars right now, so
and then the New Republic era is going to begin with a new Star Wars #1 on May 4th, Star Wars Day.
Oh,
it's
that's
gonna be written
clever.
by Alex Aguirre Phil Noto. So I mean, I'm excited. I might check that out. There's I like that team. I hope that they do new stuff. I think that they can do new stuff, good stuff with the New Republic, which there hasn't been much New Republic stuff since Disney took over Star Wars. Outside of like the Ahsoka series, I guess, and a little bit of the Mandalorian, but they didn't really focus on kind of the core cast of characters. And then we're gonna get to the comics review portion.
I am
of the
excited.
show.
I usually don't talk a lot during Comic Corner, but I've got some really fun comics this week.
And as always, thank you. Shout out to All Yeah Comics, Jeff and Christy in downtown Muncie for being a great place to buy our books.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want me to start? Can
Yeah,
I start?
yeah.
I'm really excited to talk. So I picked up Doctor Doom and Rocket Raccoon, which is an insane team up. And if I have to explain the premise, it's Doctor Doom recruits the brilliant technician that is Rocket Raccoon to help him build a time-traveling device so they can go back and ask what the meaning of the universe is, and they try to find that out. And
who do they ask?
Well, no, they find out, and I'm not going to explain.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil too much, but they do run into a figure, and I'm just going to say the purpose of the universe is to understand the purpose of the universe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a very different direction.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very Hitchhiker's Guide.
It does.
But kind of in it. I haven't read it yet. I mean, I want to, but
Right. But it's been very interesting. You've got, I mean, there's a part where Doctor Doom pets Rocket Raccoon like he's a freaking dog, and he said, "Never do that again." And then Doctor Doom said, "Thor said you liked it." Rocket said he lied, and then Doctor Doom calls him a rabbit.
yeah, and this is part of like a whole initiative J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5, is doing. Like a lot of like weird team ups. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna read it. I really like his humor. He wrote Spider.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
I sent you a text of one comic book panel, and it's Doctor Doom trying to explain the rules of Monopoly and cryptocurrency to Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. It's hilarious because you've got Rocket Raccoon, who's a super savvy thief, and you were telling me, like, Rocket Raccoon could absolutely run a crypto scam, and he would probably dupe everyone who's invested in crypto.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Like, not even could, because I don't think it takes that much, like, intelligence, because there are a lot of people who have run crypto scams.
Yeah.
And I don't think all of them are geniuses, but, like, I also don't think, like that is what, like, Rocket Raccoon in America, if he's like, oh, I need to make money, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And then I also picked up Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu. I picked up 2 and 3 after Jeff recommended Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu 0 and 1, because I've been playing a lot of Moon Knight and Marvel Rivals, and I'm just like, I should give Moon Knight a second shot. I tried to pick up an earlier version. They did a previous run of Moon Knight, and it was when like Mark Spector was dead. I'm like, no, I don't want someone else taking up the Moon Knight mantle. So the reason why I picked it up is because Khonshu revived Mark Spector. He's back. You know, you still got, you have Mark Spector, you have Stephen Grant, you have Jake Lockley, and they are Moon Knight. But you've also got a really weird ensemble of characters too.
Looks like there's Tigra there.
Tigra and then 8-Ball, which it's very funny because they're fighting Cubist. I don't know if anyone knows much about Cubist, but it is very funny because this 8-Ball guy literally fights with a pool cue. And before he literally flips a car with a pool cue. And right before he does that, he says corner pocket. And then just completely flips the car. Like, it's weird. Apparently, 8-Ball is an ex-con, ex-criminal, and now he's working with Moon Knight, and they're known as the Midnight Mission. But it's really cool because it's a dark, gritty Moon Knight comic that also has themes of addiction.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's been my JBK. I've heard like he's been writing Moon Knight for a while. He's done like multiple series, multiple years, and I've heard really good stuff about his.
It is really good, and like, so Moon Knight's trying to get a drug called glitter off the street, and so he takes it to Tony Stark to help better understand why it's so addictive, and they have a very grounded conversation about how harmful addiction is. I'm like, wow, this is like really deep for a Moon Knight comic. And then eventually, like, I think Moon Knight starts like dissing on Mr. Fantastic too, which is just hilarious. But yes, so I am very much enjoying this Moon Knight. So thanks, Jeff, for getting me into Fist of Khonshu, because it is very good. But yeah, I'll leave it to. We've got some shared comics that we're currently reading right now, so I'll leave that to you since I've been doing.
I think we should both review them because I have a lot more later too.
I'll take Ultimate Spider-Man. You take Uncanny X-Men because I haven't read Uncanny X-Men yet.
Well, yeah, we both picked up Uncanny X-Men number 9. I read it. This is Gil Simone and a new artist. I forget his name. Andrea Bresson. This has been an overall really good series. I really like it. The art in this issue, since they're doing 16 issues a year, they have to switch up artists a lot. So I do kind of miss like who like the main artist was, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who's still doing the covers, but it seems a little like more cartoony than the feeling that they were going earlier. It's like, oh, like some of these characters look kind of weird.
Yeah.
don't look like maybe look younger than they did earlier, but there are still like some really good storytelling elements to it overall. The like all of the characters' interactions seem really fun. I think Gail Simone really nails the interaction between like the older X-Men. I said that on Blue Sky, and someone was like, Jubilee's an old X-Men, and it was like I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
and someone else was. She's been around for 33 years.
Yeah.
Jubilee, Gambit, Rogue, Wolverine, them. Those interactions are great, and you get to see more of these these young kids as outliers, and they're really fun. I'm excited to see where they go. And we get to see more of the characters, and maybe a relationship.
Oh, because there was a huge cliffhanger at the end of the 8th series. I forgot about that. Because you had some kidnappings happen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I really need to read that now.
Well, and there is a cliffhanger at the end of this too.
Okay.
And it seems to be leading up into the next X-Men event, X-Men Hunt. Okay, whatever.
Okay. Well, I picked up Ultimate Spider-Man number 13 as well as you. You didn't. So you didn't pick up Ultimate Spider-Man 12?
I missed it.
Okay.
I forgot.
Well, in Ultimate Spider-Man number 12, it was revealed at the end that there was a Peter Parker. They're celebrating Christmas, but in like one of the last panels, his eyes go dark, and it's very much a symbiote that is completely Peter Parker, essentially. And so I'm not going to give away too much about Ultimate Spider-Man number 13, but the symbiote is actually a lot more wholesome than
you'd expect.
Yeah.
Maybe another shoe's going to drop, who knows.
Right. But it was revealed, I think, back in Ultimate Spider-Man number 11 that Peter Parker and Harry Osborn were kidnapped.
Yeah.
Which made things really confusing for Ultimate Spider-Man number 12 because you're like, wait a minute, I thought they were captured. And then towards the end, it's like, oh. So now it became clear that the symbiote actually just was able to morph completely into Peter Parker, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I can't give too much away. It's really fun to see how this new version of the Sinister Six is working together.
Yeah.
You get some cool Kraven and Mole Man interaction and Mysterio.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's also really nice to have Marco Cicchetto back on art.
He's really good at it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean, I think he didn't do like the past couple issues, or I don't think he did like 10, 11. But
yeah,
I assume that's just like for him to keep up because he's super good at this. Like one of my favorites. I especially love his work on Star Wars. Some Star Wars comics that he's
like
done.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The work he does is just absolutely mind blowing.
I mean, if it is super decompressed. So if like super decompressed comics isn't your thing, if you like to have a lot of stuff happening per issue, this isn't it. But you do really get to sit with the characters.
Find out what makes them tick. I thought Harry was gonna do some questionable things in issue number 13. Harry Osborn.
Yeah, and you are kind of still on your seat at the end.
You are
each issue. Like I can't wait for another. Like part of it just like I like. Oh man, I wish more stuff happened this month. Yeah. But the other part of it is just like I need to know what happened. So it does keep you on your seat in a very good way.
Yeah,
I'm liking that. I also picked up You Won't Feel a Thing number 1. I have not read this yet.
It's horror, right?
Yeah, it's Scott Snyder and Jock. It's a horror. It's another horror serial killer comic. I'm probably gonna read this like as soon as I have time. But I just didn't have time yesterday.
Hey,
I picked up Superman number 22 by Joshua Williamson and Dan Mora, as well as Justice League number 3 by Mark Waid and Dan Mora. I don't understand how Dan Mora draws 2 of these books per month.
Yeah, you were talking to me about it. What was it? Yesterday.
Yeah, like no one else right now like is doing that. It's insane.
Yeah.
And they both keep up really good quality and they're really good. Superman, I'm pretty sure I talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's very fun. There's some really cool stuff
Plastic
going on
Man
right
looks
now.
like he's in danger.
Yeah, that's in Justice League. You probably can see from previous covers.
Yeah.
Lois Lane has the powers of Superwoman.
Oh,
now,
right.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on with that, and like Doomsday's back, and there's like future Doomsday is like, I want you to, get rid of me so I can resurrect and then become a god.
Yeah.
And then there's a planet of like people who their society was taken out by Doomsday. I don't know. A lot of stuff is going on right now. But Joshua Williamson is handling it well. Justice League Unlimited is also a good book. I mean, the art's fantastic. Mark Waid, it's staying, consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mark Waid.
Yeah.
He's always going to do good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say about this book. They're doing some interesting character stuff. We're focusing in on like a small character, and I do think it's interesting that they're fighting a wildfire, because they're kind of dealing with real world issues in that. And but yeah, I'm excited. But this kind of ties in more with the whole Justice League Unlimited thing they're doing right now, because there's like All Along the Watchtower and the Atom Project, and I'm excited to see where that kind of bigger story goes.
Yeah.
I also picked up the two Wonder Woman books, Absolute Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 17. Absolute Wonder Woman, I think this is one of my favorite ongoings right now.
Yeah.
She is metal as hell. She's got like a magic arm. She's got here, I'm gonna show you just the biggest sword that you have ever seen. And she already had the big sword.
Oh my gosh!
But now it's even bigger.
What?
It's like this. It's like the size of a building. And we also get introduced.
That's crazy.
Over these past 2 issues to more of the
That doesn't
cast.
seem very practical.
Yeah. We get to see Veronica Cale and all of them, and a lot of people who were kind of missing in the main book right now. Like we get we get to see like Etta Candy and her sister, and that's really cool. We get like the interaction between all of them is like exactly what you would expect, but also it reflects this different Diana. And then finally, I read Wonder Woman 17. This is kind of a series I've been more or less lukewarm on at times. At times, I'm really loving it. At times, it seems like I want this story to like progress faster. But this one I think is better. We get to see more of the Wonder Girls, the 3 of them. Diana has her baby, and the Wonder Girls are fighting the bad guy, the Sovereign or whatever. Yeah. And the art really is fantastic. Especially the cover. Tom King's writing is good. The dialogue's great. There's some great character moments in there. So if you're a Wonder Woman, I'd suggest at least picking. I suggest at least trying these.
Yeah. I think that's kind of it. We might end it a couple minutes early. Yeah. I don't want to just stall for time just to get us to the 30-minute mark. But I think the main reason why we just didn't have as much as Don't Change the Channel was just so short today. Yeah. But we'll be back next week. I'm sure I'll have more stuff to report in about Rivals. I hope we get some trailers soon for, some upcoming superhero movies. I would expect probably a second Superman trailer. Maybe a Fantastic Four. Yeah. So we'll definitely keep you updated. We'll be able to report about a spoiler-free review of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah. But until then, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you right back here next week, 12:30 Thursday, only on WCRD.
Yeah. Stay safe, stay warm.
All right, bye guys.